Did you know that 1 out of 54 boys and 1 out of 252 girls are diagnosed with autism in the United States? Autism is a very common special needs disease in the U.S. What autism is, it is the developmental disorder where someone is affected by the difficulties with interacting socially, verbal and nonverbal speaking, behavioral problems, repetitive behaviors, and a lack of skills on focus of interest. In our everyday lives, whether we are walking around the school or if we're walking downtown, we see people who have this disease and that who struggle with it. We are very familiar with this disorder, but the thing is, we don't realize that it has a big effect on people who have autism. How it affects people is it affects people mentally, socially, and emotionally. I will be discussing three topics today, which are the different forms of autism, how we should treat people with autism, and the privileges and opportunities that exist around the special needs community. People do not realize that there are different forms of autism. Since there are different forms of autism, and it affects each person in a different way. The higher functioning people who have autism have the Asperger's disease, and what that is basically they can become more independent. They can basically do things on their own, like take tests. They don't have to be supervised at every minute, but they still are not really fully together, as I want to say it. But they can still function properly. We can have a regular conversation with them, and basically they can just live their lives as a regular person. Other disorders are the Rett syndrome, childhood disintegrated disorder, and persuasive development disorder. Now, some of you guys know that I have a brother who has autism, and he fits under the category with the persuasive development disorder. And what that is basically, it's not like he can function, but at the same time, he still needs to be supervised somewhat. But you can still have a regular conversation with him, you can still go out and do activities, he can still be involved with stuff, but you can't just leave him by himself, you can't just let him do his own thing, because at the same time, he's still really naive about it. People wonder how we should treat people who have autism. They should be treated like everyday people. You need to treat them with respect no matter what. Now, every now and then, we're going to run into some kids who have autism that may say things that might come off as being mean or hurtful, but then you got to think about it. They really don't know that, so we can't just sit there and critique them and yell at them for that mistake. Another thing is that we need to be a role model to them. Like an example would be, like when I'm at home with my brother, sometimes around my friends I may say things that I shouldn't say or act in a way I shouldn't act, and sometimes I got to be careful with that because sometimes, I will say certain words or act in a certain way, and I'm not realizing that my brother is actually watching me acting this way, and then he will pick up on it and he'll act like that towards other people. So as a role model, I try to be a good brother and try to demonstrate good behavior. People often feel sorry for people who have autism because they cannot participate in sports or are able to work in the same field. I'm here to say that there are so many opportunities for people who have autism that they can work and they can do sports. One of the biggest programs for special needs kids in America is the Special Olympics. Now, the Special Olympics, they offer sports for not only kids with autism, but for other kids who had other special needs abilities. The sports that are most common are soccer, basketball, swimming, track, and softball. They can also work at grocery stores, and they can work at fast food restaurants. An example would be my brother. What he would do for school is he would work in the classroom for a bit, but then he would actually go work at the grocery store one day, and then the next day he'd be working at like a fast food restaurant. Like he wouldn't be cooking the food, but he would basically mop the floors, clean up, put things on shelves and all that sort of stuff. So even though he struggles with that disability, he's still able to at least work in some way and is still able to make some kind of money. People with autism have a disability that may affect them greatly, but also have a lot of capability and are just like us. In conclusion, those are some interesting facts about autism that not everyone would know. There are different forms of autism, how we should treat people with autism, and the opportunities that you have. Those are the three main things about autism. People that have this disorder may be affected by this disorder, but at the same time, we need to look at them as if they are regular people. Thank you.